It's 20 quick questions on WWE finishers, as picked by Patreon subscriber Jordan Zeilinger and his amazing show Wreck My Podcast. This is Trivia with Buds. What it be? And welcome to another episode of the Trivia with Buds podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Buds, and we have a doozy for you today. It's Monday, it's Thanksgiving week, and we are talking wrestling, everybody. This is a round picked by one of my Patreon subscribers and good time pals, Jordan Zeilinger. He has a great show called Wreck My Podcast. If you like nostalgia, if you like the 80s, the 90s, and thinking back to movies, music, television, etc. that you remember fondly, go check out his show. Wherever podcasts are found, search Wreck My Podcast or click the link in the show notes. Jordan hit me up and he said, for this month, I want to do wrestling finishing maneuvers. So if you're not a wrestling nerd, this may be an episode you should skip. But if you like wrestling even a little bit, I'm going to give you the name of the finisher, and you have to tell me what wrestler did that finishing move. If you don't watch wrestling, the finishing move is the thing they do to kind of put their opponent away on the mat for the 1, 2, 3. Speaking of wrestling, Survivor Series was on last night. I watched the whole thing a few hours after it aired, and it was surprisingly a pretty good show. I haven't really watched a lot of wrestling as of late, just highlights and things, but the two matches that kind of stole the show for me were the women's match of Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey and Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar. Now let's talk about the first one for just a second. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch it if you're a wrestling fan. It is phenomenal, and it has a cool ending, and you don't see it coming, and it goes on for quite some time, and there's some brutal action at the end of this match, and some blood, which was inadvertent, but it was pretty cool. So check that out. It was Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair, and I think that will spur a months-long feud between the two of them going towards WrestleMania, so that'll be a ton of fun. Also, the Daniel Bryan Brock Lesnar match was the main event, and I am not a huge Daniel Bryan fan, and I just never have been really. But I like the idea of him facing Lesnar at this pay-per-view. And man, it was a good time. It was a good little match. Lesnar destroys him from the beginning, and you're like, wow, this is just going to be a big squash. And then there's like a little turn and some fun, and then they end it how you think they're going to end it. But still a fun match to watch. So I did enjoy both of those. And then some other parts of the whole thing. The Survivor Series matches were fun, as they always are. So if you haven't seen it, go back and watch Survivor Series 2018 on the WWE Network. Speaking of more wrestling, got to meet a wrestler named Carmella, who is the Staten Island princess. She was at a Walmart in Pico Rivera, California. I saw it literally the night before on Twitter, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's free. Maybe I'll go take my daughter to that. So that's what we did. We didn't have a Carmella figure for her to sign, though. So first we went to a place called the Wrestling Guy Store in Huntington Park, California, which I've been looking to go to for a while. I follow them on Instagram. They do a lot of in-store signings for wrestlers and things. And I went to check out the store. Very cool place. They have a lot of cool stuff, some very cool memorabilia and stuff I haven't seen anywhere else. So if you're looking for something very specific, go check out the Wrestling Guy Store on Instagram or in Huntington Park, California. We picked up one of 2 remaining Carmellas they had. They were the basic figures, and we took that with us to Walmart, and then we got to Walmart, and they were saving spots for about 200 people, they said. I think they said 190. They're going to cut it off, and we were like 139 and 140 or something like that, so we were right towards the end, but we were still within reach to meet Carmella. And we had our figure, and then they walked around with a big box of her brand new figure, which was her in the Money in the Bank attire with a Money in the Bank briefcase. And they said, hey, you can get this signed. It's, $17.99 if you want to buy it after you get it signed. So we got both of those signed. I got one, and Annabelle got the other one. And we waited in line got there at 2 o'clock, and she got there at 4. So that was 2 hours. And then we waited at least another hour, probably in 10 minutes. So it was like 3 hours and 10 minutes before we got to meet her. But we got it all on tape. You could watch it on my social media. I posted pictures of the signed figures. Carmella was super, super nice and just super friendly to my daughter. So super, super cool. And I just loved the whole experience. It was cool. It was my first time doing something like that with Annabelle, where we went somewhere, we waited for a long period of time for a 4-year-old, and she had a ball. She never complained once, and it was a cool daddy-daughter day. So super glad I did that. I'll remember that for a long time. I will remember all of you who listen to this show as well. So today is what they call Thank You Patrons Day, and I am very thankful for all of you guys who listen to the show, especially the people who support it on a monthly basis. They help me do this as a full-time job. They help me put out these episodes every day and pay for all the costs that go into running a podcast and promoting it. So thank you, thank you, thank you to all my patrons, especially Carrie Moore, Manny Majarian, Alexis Eck, Earl Clark, Alex DeSmet, Sarah McKevitz, Simon Time, Jess Whitener, Jen Wojnar, Kyle Bonin, Douglas French, Erica Cooper, Fiona Neville, Scott Buds the Scorpion, Brendan Martinez, Russ Friedewald, Luke McKay, Wreck My Podcast, and Jordan Zeilinger, Dan Papalo, Greg Hines, Mo Martinez, Lauren Ward, Sarah Kay, and Casey Becker. Some of you are brand new. Some of you have been veterans of the show. I'm grateful for all of you so, so much. I hope you have an excellent Thanksgiving holiday this week. All right, guys, that was a fun intro. Let's jump into 20 questions on WWE wrestling finishers right now. Here we go. All right, here we go. I'm going to give you the wrestling finishing name, the name of the finisher, and you tell me what wrestler we're talking about. Here comes question number 1. The Diamond Cutter. Who did a finisher called the Diamond Cutter? Question number 2, the Pearl River Plunge. Number 2, the Pearl River Plunge. Number 3, we're looking for who did the Camel Clutch. Who did the Camel Clutch? Also, I should say that the person most famous for these moves, because some of them are shared between certain wrestlers, but looking for the most famous person who did those finishing maneuvers with those names. Number 3, the Camel Clutch. Number 4, the Bank Statement. Who does a finisher called the Bank Statement? Number 5, the Curtain Call. Who did a finisher called the Curtain Call? Number 6, the Scorpion Deathlock. Number 6, the Scorpion Deathlock. Number 7, Sweet Chin Music. Number 7, Sweet Chin Music. Question number 8, the Jackhammer. Number 8, the Jackhammer. Number 9, the Figure 8. Number 9, the Figure 8. Number 10, the 5-star Frog Splash. Who did that move? Number 10, the 5-star Frog Splash. Number 11, the Whoopee Cushion. Who did a finishing move called the Whoopee Cushion? Number 12, the Code Breaker. Who did a move called the Code Breaker? Number 13, the Shake, Rattle, and Roll. Number 13, the Shake, Rattle, and Roll. Number 14, the World's Strongest Slam. Who did that? The World's Strongest Slam. Number 15, WMD. Who has a finisher called the WMD. Number 16, the Torture Rack. Who is famous for the Torture Rack. Number 17, the Famasser. Who had a move called the Famasser. Number 18, the Lowdown. Number 18, the Lowdown. Number 19, the Clothesline from Hell. Who had the Clothesline from Hell? And number 20, who had a finishing move called Sister Abigail. That is number 20, Sister Abigail. All right, those are the questions for the WWE finishers. Let's see how many of those you can match up to the correct wrestler in just a second. All right, here we go. Number 1, the Diamond Cutter was performed by Diamond Dallas Page, DDP. He used to grab you out of nowhere and slam your head towards the mat, the Diamond Cutter. Question number 2, the Pearl River Plunge was Ahmed Johnson, kind of a grab bag, random one to throw in as number 2. It popped in my head when I was coming up with these, the Pearl River Plunge. He would give you like, you'd hook your arms, flip you up into a power bomb, and then do like a sit-down power bomb. Looked pretty sweet. Ahmed Johnson. Number 3, the camel clutch was the Iron Sheik. That was his patented maneuver, the Iron Sheik's camel clutch. You don't want to find yourself in that. It will be rough. Number 4, the bank statement is current WWE wrestler Sasha Banks' move. The bank statement. She is the cousin of Snoop Dogg. They always say that. One time he performed her WrestleMania intro music, so that was interesting. Number 5, the curtain call was Goldust, Dustin Runnels. And he had a move called the Curtain Call, Goldust. Number 6, the Scorpion Deathlock belonged to Sting. Sting, who is my brother's favorite wrestler, and he's in my patron list specifically so that I have to say I give to the Scorpion, even though he gives to me every month. $3, I believe, so that I have to say that back to him. Because he used to give me that move and almost break my legs when I was a prepubescent teenager. Number 7, Sweet Chin Music is Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, HBK, Shawn Michaels, Sweet Chin Music. He hadn't wrestled in about 8 years, and he came out of retirement to wrestle in Saudi Arabia just last couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. Number 8, the Jackhammer was Goldberg. Remember him, Bill Goldberg? Goldberg's finisher, the Jackhammer, he picks you up in a suplex and then pulls you down real quick and slams you into like a slam. Number 9, the figure 8 is Charlotte Flair's finishing maneuver. That is kind of stolen from her dad, Ric Flair, and she bridges her back to make it hurt more, I guess, is what they say. The figure 8. Number 10, the 5-star frog splash was Rob Van Dam. The whole effing show, I believe that's his thing, his moniker. Rob Van Dam. One time I was in a green room at a comedy club with Rob Van Dam. More weed smoke than I've ever seen in my entire life. Number 11, the whoopee cushion, Doink the Clown. That matches up with him, right? A clown doing something called the whoopee cushion. There you go. He said jump off the top rope and kind of sit on your chest. That was basically it. He'd kind of fly at your face, crotch first, and sit on you. Number 12, the code breaker, Chris Jericho, who is all over the world wrestling right now for Ring of Honor and Japan and all kinds of other stuff going on. Currently not even in WWE, which is where he got the most famous, the code breaker. Number 13, the shake, rattle, and roll was the Honky Tonk Man, who was signing autographs today, as I'm recording this, earlier at a Survivor Series party at a Dave & Buster's in Ontario, California. That's where the Honky Tonk Man was at. I thought about going, and then I'm like, I don't need to spend $30. I just met another wrestler for free. Shout out to Carmella once again. Number 14, World's Strongest Slam. That's Mark Henry, the world's strongest man. He's a big weightlifter and a wrestler. I think he's retired now, if I'm not mistaken. And he did something called the World's Strongest Slam. And if you fought him, he'd put you in his House of Pain. Number 15, WMD, Weapon of Mass Destruction. Those are the Big Show. Those are his fists. He punches you one time. It's the WMD. Number 16, the torture rack was Lex Luger, who is, I think, wheelchair-bound now, but used to be just like the most ripped wrestler of all time for a long time. Lex Luger, he body-slammed Yokozuna on an aircraft carrier on 4th of July. It was pretty nuts. I think it was 4th of July. Number 17, the Fameasser. That's sort of a running, jumping, leg to the head slam thing, and it's done by Billy Gunn. The badass Billy Gunn from the New Age Outlaws in the Attitude Era. He used to do the Fameasser because they called him Mr. Ass. And Dolph Ziggler does the Fameasser now, and they still call it that, the Fameasser. Number 18, the lowdown was D'Lo Brown. He would jump off the top rope. I believe it was just his version of a frog splash, but he wore a chest protector, which would inflict extra damage, as they would say. That was D'Lo Brown's the lowdown. Number 19, the clothesline from hell was JBL. JBL, that was a wrestler who was like a cowboy oil tycoon type guy, and he was also a bunch of other names. He was in, I think, the Acolytes. If you remember the APA, the Acolytes Protection Agency, he was part of that with Farouk / Ron Simmons, and the clothesline from hell. Number 20, Sister Abigail is done by current wrestler / he's on the bench right now. I think he's injured. Bray Wyatt was his name. Bray Wyatt. Number 20, Sister Abigail. So those are all 20. How many did you get out of 20? Jordan, if you're listening, I hope you got all 20, or you are dead to me. Yeah, you are not a real wrestling fan if you missed any of those. That's it for today's episode. If you got this far and never watched wrestling, God bless you, because that was a lot of nerdy chatter from me, from the intro and into the episode, and then the episode itself, and then now still talking about wrestling. So good job. Good job. You should deserve a pat on the back just for getting through, just for finishing this finisher episode. We got a bunch of fun stuff going on this week, including more categories from patrons and a special Thanksgiving episode on Thursday. If you want to play with me live, we've got all TV rounds this week to pack you into a bunch of fun places. You can see all those locations on triviawithbuds.com. Just scroll down on the main page and you can RSVP for a bonus point to any live event. That just lets me know how many people might be there. We're doing rounds on Seinfeld, Friends, Bob's Burgers, and Always Sunny. You don't want to miss those 4 live rounds. I will record them to play on the episode in the next month as well. Come play. It'll be a ton of fun. You can support the show like my 24 amazing patrons over at patreon.com/trivia with buds. And once again, thank you so much, all my patrons, on a very special Thank You Patrons Day. Check out Twitter and the hashtag #ThankYouPatrons to see all the Patreon creators out there thanking their patrons in different ways. I have a special video going up tomorrow or today as you're listening to this. If you're part of my Patreon page, you can watch it. You'll see it. Thank you. And we'll see you tomorrow for more Trivia with Buds. Cheers.